is just some little rinky-dink thing. And you don't get to have, a brand new sponsor here, General Steel Build. You don't get General Steel to begin sponsoring your program if you're not serious. I do like General Steel, a church that I used to go to. When we built the new structure for the new church, because they were renting in a plaza. We were renting in a plaza, and we decided to build church. We bought property. The church bought property, and they decided to put up a building, a new church building. It was a General Steel building. So I know firsthand what General Steel is like, actually, to tell you the truth. And it's good stuff. I mean, it came how they said it was going to come. There was no cost overruns for it. It was pretty. I mean, you had to fill in, that $35,000 that you're spending on. It's pretty much the shell of the building. You've got to put in the drywall and all that other stuff inside, as if you were building a house. But cabinets and all that kind of stuff. But it went up just like they said it was going to go up. The cost for putting it up was right on them. They know exactly what they're talking about when it comes to engineered steel buildings, and I get it, and it looks great. And you can customize the inside to however you want, because you got it's a big open, it's a big open space. It's like post and beam without the post in the middle. It goes up exactly how they say. And it's strong. I recommend them. So I know personally of going through the process of having to erect and work with and work around a General Steel building, and that I'm thrilled that they have become a sponsor of this program. That is great, because I've actually worked with them before, and they're fantastic company, fantastic product. The Morning Jolt. That's right. Morning Jolt from CNSnews.com. MSNBC basically had to stop Trump from taking over questions, and they actually had to break to a commercial in order to shut Donald. I'm too nice a lot of times when it comes to stuff like that. I don't. When I'm on another person's program, I don't want to, be so overbearing that I'm taking over their program. But sometimes if I'm talking to a liberal, sometimes it's very hard not to, because they're so lame. MS Mess is so lame. A personality as strong as Donald Trump. What else is he supposed to do? I mean, they're acting stupid, idiotic, and childish, being liberals. So what else is he supposed to do? He's verbally spanking them. But anyway, Donald Trump said on MS Mess during the Morning Joe, he said, "I've always been a unifier." And this is what he said earlier today. This morning, Tuesday, on the Morning Joe, as he defended what some Americans are calling divisive comments about banning Muslims from entering the United States. Now, this is what he said. He said, "Until our country's representatives can figure out what's going on." Hey, I think it's perfectly reasonable. It's a very reasoned comment. It's very logical. Hey, let's kind of figure this out before we start letting all these people in. Because once they're in, as we just saw in San Bernardino, it's too late. Once they're in, they can do a San Bernardino. They can do a 9/11. So let's think about how we can weed that element of all, because all Muslims are not terrorists. And I know they've been trying to redefine and relabel what terrorism is so they can say that, Sandy Hook was a terrorist attack. It wasn't a terrorist attack. But they're trying to redefine what the word terror is so they can call it a terrorist attack, because right now we can say, most Muslims are not terrorists, but most terrorists are Muslim. You see the difference there? We fully understand that most Muslims are not terrorists, although they don't have an issue. They would much rather live under Sharia law and that type of thing. But most Muslims, they don't commit acts of terror. They don't tend to try to stop them, but they don't commit acts of terror. But most terrorists in this world and in this country are Muslim. So that's kind of like going into Chicago and saying, well, most criminals in Chicago right now are African American males between the ages of 15 and 30. Not all, but most. That's just an accurate determination of what's going on at the time. Now, you can't say that all African American males of the age between the age of 15 and 30 are criminals, but most criminals in Chicago are African American males between the age of 15 and 30. So it is not unreasonable to have a higher police presence in areas where black males age of 15 to 30 tend to be. You want to call it racial profiling? No, I call it criminal profiling. If you want to call, people are trying to say that this is racial profiling of Muslims and Arabic. No, it's not. It's called terrorist profiling. And we know that most terrorists around the world happen to come from a specific type of ethnic background people. I mean, how stupid is it to know that most terrorists are male Arabic men between the ages of 15 and 30, let's say, but you're going to pat down and and scrutinize an 80-year-old nun? That makes no sense. Oh well, hey, if we're gonna stop all the Arabs and Muslims from coming in, then it's only going to be fair if you stop all the Asians too. Well, do the Asians tend to commit terrorist acts anywhere in the United States or abroad? No, they don't. So why would you be focusing on them? If they become if a particular ethnic group becomes a major problem, then you focus your attention on that ethnic group. That is not racial or ethnic profiling. That's crime profiling. It's always been done throughout the history of man. And you might say, well, no, because when in the olden days in country they were all white. No, there were still different ethnicities even within the white population. We know that for a fact here in the United States in the last 200 years. Italians? No, we don't want Italians coming in. Italians are criminals, man. That's mafia stuff. That's always been the case for Italians. It's, in the modern history of the last 500 years or so. Mafia. Now, are all Sicilians and all Italians mafioso and criminal? No, they're not. But most mafioso are what? Italian. So if you're going to attack and try to concentrate on taking down the mafia, who are you going to pay attention to? Italians. And you heard nobody complain about the FBI targeting Italians. And now you want to complain because, you leftists, because you're caught with your pants down, because you're mamby-pamby, wimpy, stupid idiots, and you've got this man in the White House in the Oval Office who's nothing more than a Muslim sympathizer who happens to be Muslim himself. Yes, I said it again. Barack Hussein Obama is not a Christian. He sat in a black liberation theology, which has a church for 20 years, which has its roots in Nation of Islam. Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X type of teaching, what is its basis? Islam. He's a Muslim. His daddy was a Muslim. He was raised in a Muslim country. He went to 1st through 5th grade in a Muslim country. The boy grew up to be a man who's a Muslim sympathizer. He's not a Christian. Come on, folks. Why do you think he can't say that Muslims are terrorists? This is just ridiculous. You look at the truth, you look at the actions, you look at the verbiage, you look at the words that he says, you look at how he says it, you look at, his speech pattern, all that kind of stuff, and it comes down, if you had a Martian that came down here and said, well, let's try to figure this out for you guys, he'd look at Obama and say, okay, and you'd give him the Martian all what we know about Islam and all that we know about terrorism around the world over the last 100 years. You give him all that Martian, all that information, he'd be going over it and he'd say, oh, well, damn, your president's a Muslim. That's what he'd say. Because it would be a logical conclusion to the facts at hand. So this whole notion that it's racist to think of, no, it's not racist. It's being smart. The Boston mob, not all Irish people or not most Irish people were criminals, no. But most of the Boston mob was Irish. So once again, who are you, if you want to take down the Boston mob, which operated all throughout New England, if you want to take down the Boston mob, who are you going to pay attention to? Who are you going to focus on? Irish. Again, that's exactly what they did. The FBI did. There was none of this call for racism or racial profiling against the Irish. Just as there was no racial profiling charges or racism called against, going against the mafia and focusing on Italians. And no matter wherever you go, you want to start taking down some of the gangs down in L.A. Who are you going to pay attention to? Well, most gang members, not all, but most gang members in most parts of L.A. are Latino and black. Are you going to pay attention to all the white kids going to Catholic school? If you want to do something about all the gang violence in L.A.? No, you're going to pay attention to the black kid and the Latino kid. Is that racial profiling? No, that's criminal profiling. There is a difference. There's no racial component other than the particular group that you have to pay attention to. I don't know, do I got to keep going to explain this more? That Donald Trump is not being a racist. He's not. Donald Trump is explaining exactly what this country has always done on a non-racial basis in order to get at the root of a particular problem we wanted to solve. If we wanted to solve the mafia problem, well, you're not going to be focusing on Miami Latino Cubans, are you? Because they're not mafia. They're not mafioso. Would it make any... Of course it wouldn't make... I don't even have to ask that stupid question. Of course it wouldn't make any sense to focus on them. That would just be kind of dumb. So if you want to focus on terrorists and terrorism, you focus on those who are committing most of the vast majority of terrorist acts everywhere. That's Islamist, Muslims, Arabics, I don't care what you call them. That's who's doing it. So if you know the group, and the group is coming from the outside in, well, you don't allow that group to come in until you can separate the bad seed from the good seed. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. Donald Trump isn't saying we're not going to let Arabs in the country anymore. Nope. That is not what he's saying. What he's saying is that we need to get a handle on this and understand who it is we're letting in first. Because the last thing, just like Geraldo Rivera with his daughter being over there in Paris during that attack, it changed his mind a lot. You don't want to be caught in the wonderful position of having a loved one or yourself being entrapped within a terrorist attack, possibly being injured or killed, before you make your change in mind. That would not be very bright.